I will never tire of seeing guys triumph over it and break free and go on to live amazing lives, to never ever worry about this whole hair loss stuff again. Never be plagued by it, never be burdened by it. The same is ultimately incredibly possible for you. It really is. And for any man. And if you want help with it, if you want me to walk you through each step, if you want to speak to me directly, if you want to speak to guys who are also either on the other side of it or going through the same journey that you're on now, then join that community. The whole point of it is get in, get your help, take action, and move on with your life. Move on with it. Break free, move on, live a great life. That's what I want for you. That was good. Are you tired and fed up and exhausted of the worry around balding? Do you want to break free from this prison, from this cage, from this just awful feeling, this worry all the time, this negativity? You know you want more. You know you don't want to be burdened by this any longer, but maybe you're unsure exactly of how you can break free. Well, this video is going to tell you exactly how you and any other man can do it. I'm also going to tell you about what I think is the ultimate resource that I've put together that is going to help you do it. Lock in. We're going to go through it step by step. And to do that, let's start at the beginning. My hair fucking is falling out. But here, basically at the top, I don't want my hair to fall out. I don't know why I'm so worried about it, but I am. Gutted about it. It looks creepy, that creepy fucking guy with no hair. I don't want to be that guy. I'm gonna look old as shit. I feel very deflated. Like really sad. I feel sad about it. Like I actually want to cry. I was like recording it, and even when I saw it, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. I don't want to change. I feel good the way I am now. My fucking hair's falling out. I don't want to go to get a haircut. But yeah, just found out my hair's falling out. It feels shit. Yeah. At least my dog still loves me. So as you can see, I was scared. My mind was racing 1,000 miles an hour. And from there, to be honest, it got worse. I've literally spent 5-6 years analyzing, figuring out, interviewing hundreds and hundreds of men to find out what works, right? And there is a noticeable pattern. First thing that we need to understand about male pattern baldness is that it isn't to do with the physical hair, okay? Most of us, you know, when we are losing it, our initial thought is, right, how can I disguise this? How can I conceal this? This is what you want. All of the fears that are thrown up when you are losing your hair are a result of having this balding known, noticed, recognized either in yourself or the people around you, or let's just call it in the world, okay? So we really do the most to try to conceal the appearance of male pattern baldness. Now, you might be like me, styles, you know, kind of playing around with the hair, sitting at the back so people can't see it, walking around with your head tilted down, or you may be doing the meds, you may have had procedures in the past, you may be, what else is there that we kind of do? You know, the hats, everything exists out there is a way of concealing the appearance of going bald, okay? Like if I had SMP or whatever. And it's all with the same objective of reducing that anxiety, okay? This is the next important point is obviously going bald, losing your hair does not remotely physically hurt. It doesn't impact your health, physical health, okay? And it doesn't cause you physical pain like, oh, you know, my hair's falling out, it's so painful, let me take this pill to reduce that physical pain. No, this is a game. This is a journey of emotions. The pain comes from, let's just put it in a simple little example. I'm losing my hair. If I go bald, I'm going to be less attractive. Now I'm afraid that I'm going to be forever alone. I'm going to be rejected. I'm never going to find a partner. That's the pain. You feel the anxiety. right, if I'm going out on a night out, let's say, I need to conceal this balding so that I'm not feeling afraid that it's going to negatively impact, my chances in the dating scene or whatever. That's just an example, okay? So you're feeling these fears. In my specific example, I was afraid and anxious of what would happen if someone noticed that I was losing my hair. The people around me, would they laugh at me? Would they criticize me? Or would they simply just ask, out of curiosity, hey dude, are you going bald? I would walk around with my head tilted down, as I kind of mentioned earlier. I would sit at the back. I would be always playing around with the hair to try to maximize the density. And I could have continued down that road, okay? I could have, used the fibers. I could have used the medication to try and thicken up that, hair, or at least have less hair fall out. I could have got SMP maybe and made it look more dense. There's a whole spectrum of these things, right? All of these things, including the way I behaved, sitting at the back and whatnot, are what are called safety behaviors, okay? So the pain that we really feel around male pattern baldness is the anxiety. Let's just use one word to describe it. Everything we do around it to feel less anxious, to help us manage that emotional pain that is the anxiety, are safety behaviors, okay? That's just what they are. In all anxieties, this is how it works. And so all of the things that we do, from, putting on the hat, that is a behavior that we do to reduce our anxiety, okay? For the hat wearers out there, for the hat slaves, there's a knock at, you're rocking this balding hair, you're at home, there's a knock at the door, maybe a parcel delivery or something. This is a common one. Right, I'm feeling anxious. I can't, go open the door and have people see my hair like this. Right, where's my hat? Put the hat on. Okay, that anxiety's reduced. No one's going to see this balding. All of those things that I'm afraid are going to happen if someone sees the balding, I can feel less anxious that those are going to happen. Okay, I can manage the situation. I can go and open that door and collect my parcel. So this is the true battle that us men go on. This is the journey, and that is truly the bit that we must address. It's those fears and anxieties that need to be, need to be dispelled. Once you no longer feel that anxiety and that fear, you have solved your problem of male pattern baldness, because the true problem is that emotional problem. That's the bit that causes us genuine issues. So how might that look in a person's life? Let's take, for example, I'm drawing examples from all across here. I remember one story, true story, a guy who, with his missus, they'd saved up all year. They were about to, settle down, have the kids, have a marriage. They're like, this summer, let's go on the holiday of a lifetime. Okay, we're going to go on a big mega cruise. I'll leave the name out, but this is a real story. They were adventurous people, young, but the guy had, he was losing his hair. It was, going at the front, and he'd obviously adopted this long fringe, and he was using the Rogaine and the hairspray and all the rest of it, right? It was a secret. It was still his secret, that he was losing his hair, and he was doing all this stuff to conceal that, okay? Because he was afraid, what was my missus going to say if she knows I'm going to bald? Is she going to find me less attractive? Is she going to think like, oh, I don't want that in my future? The people around, all of the guys, this, right? All of the things that we fear are going to happen if this balding is known to the world, is revealed, right? So they go on this trip, and it's time to book these excursions, these little trips that you can go on. And it's all like whitewater rafting, a lot of stuff to do with water. And his missus loved that stuff. And it was actually how they'd met. They'd met on some sort of like climbing expedition. And he knew that it was like, water's a no-go, dude. Like, that's not happening. Sweating, that's going to reveal it. And he then was like, oh, like, do you mind if we just do some like relaxing activities? Like, we'll just go on a few excursions. So what happened? His missus was fuming. She was like, are you serious? This is supposed to be the trip of a lifetime that we're going on here, and you don't even want to do anything fun that we normally enjoy. The physical balding is not what negatively impacted his life there. It was the anxiety and the fears that he felt around having this balding revealed that was actually negatively impacting his life, okay? His missus was now fuming with him. He was going on this holiday and he can't even enjoy it properly. This is what I'm getting at. This is the true negative impact of hair loss, of balding, okay? So in the course, inside the private community, the first step is acknowledging what exactly these thoughts and these fears and these anxieties truly are. And that can happen in a lot of different ways. You know, over the years, it's been things like often having, for the first time, a genuine conversation about what you're so afraid of to do with this balding. Okay, don't forget, this is a secret thing, right? This is, for most of you, for most of us guys, it's the thing that is your big secret. It's the thing that you don't want to address. You don't want to talk about. You want to keep hidden from yourself and from the world. And that's the thing that's promoted, right? Hide it, hide it, hide it. You've got to hide it. You've got to conceal it. That's the thing that the industry promotes. But when you're hiding it both physically, mentally, and verbally from the people around you, it's very hard to make sense of what it actually is that you're afraid of. Again, in my own example, you can hear me talk about all these different things, like my acting career's over, my, you know, AKA my sort of job career is over. You know, my girlfriend's not going to find me attractive. I'm going to be that ugly, minging foreigner. I had this picture in my mind of like this horrific scene. And it was all this huge, giant, just feeling, right? I could sort of summarize it all into like, I can't go bald, this is going to ruin my life. Those are just feelings in this big umbrella, all-encompassing feeling of fear and anxiety that I just held on to, and I was constantly trying to push away, and I wasn't actually able to comprehend what it actually was that I was so afraid of. What were these individual fears? And so the first step, guys, in actually totally moving past this is acknowledging what is it that you're actually afraid of. And in the course, there's various steps and methods of pulling those out of you and allowing you to truly understand them. That is the first important point. So again, you can take this video and you can run with it and you can sit down and do that work. Or if you want a bit more help in the course, of course, we do it step by step. And that will bring you clarity on those. So the next thing that happens, you start here with this sort of discovery and the fears pop up, and then it gets worse, because what happens is, because your sort of intuition and the things that are promoted to you of like, hide this, you need to hide this, you need to conceal this so that the world doesn't see that you're losing your hair and all those fears and anxieties don't come true. That's ultimately what we do, right? Because we deploy these safety behaviors, the hat wearing, the hair styling, and all the rest of it, the pill taking, the hair spraying, because those safety behaviors help us sort of temporarily feel less anxious and not feel the pain of balding, we start to believe that, okay, my life isn't falling apart because I'm doing these safety behaviors. Or I was thinking, because I'm sat at the back of the classroom, no one's seeing my balding, so life's going okay, you know, these fears aren't happening, so what do I need to continue doing? Hide at the back of the classroom, of course. You start to believe that the only reason life isn't falling apart is because you or I am using these safety behaviors. And it's like, okay, I need to keep doing this, because if I don't, those fears are definitely going to come true now. So you're sort of training yourself to be like, these things aren't happening because of all this hiding and concealing that I'm doing. You don't ever give yourself the opportunity to test those fears. But I'm going to skip and tell you right now that the only way to truly put this stuff behind you is to confront them. It is to confront those anxieties and those fears, and it's to test them. Now, we'll get to how you're going to do that in a minute. But this is how it gets worse, because then you become ever more reliant on these things. And because these safety behaviors and these emotions are the things that truly impact your life, aka, let's go back to our man on his cruise. He's like, if his safety behavior, let's just pick one, is the fringe covering the receding hairline, okay, the double hairline with the Rogaine, he no longer allows himself to do activities that he will enjoy and that will actually help him live his life. through fear that they will compromise his safety behavior. So he's like, I can't go anywhere near water, or I can't go out in the wind or whatever, because it's going to compromise my safety behavior. And then those fears that have now built because I've never challenged them will really come true. So you can see how all of this stuff becomes like a cage. You become trapped. You know, all these reminders, because it's normally a daily routine, right? Because it's a prominent thing in your appearance. So you have this whole strategy around managing these anxieties and these fears that are to do with these safety behaviors, and it becomes like a cage that you get stuck in. And it's actually the insecurity now, it's that insecurity, it's that anxiety that is now dictating how you live your life. And that's ultimately how it sort of goes downwards, and we get into that position where ultimately you become kind of stuck. You're not feeling good about how you look and how life's going. You're controlled by all of these behaviors and these fears. But something that happened for me, and that happens for so many men, and why I put this resource together, of course, Baldcafe and the community, you start to recognize that you can't go on like that. You know, you get to the bottom point, essentially, which is the next step, where you're like, I can't keep living my life like this. Is this really what life holds for me? Is this my life now? And that was the big one for me. Maybe it's the slow, gradual build-up of like, I'm just so tired of this now. You know, whatever you're doing, whatever safety behaviors you're deploying, you're just like, oh, I can't keep living my life like this. And then something interesting happens, because you start to entertain the idea of actually going with it. You know, thinking like, well, what if I did actually lose my hair? What if I stopped trying to hide this from the world and from myself? You know, that thought might happen in different ways, but some variety of that thought begins to happen. Or maybe it's a big event. You know, for some people, it's like they actually book the trip to Turkey and they're about to get their hair transplant done or something. And then that's the point they get to where they question, like, do I need to do this? Do I need to keep going down this path? Well, they ordered the hair system and they're in the bathroom, like, with it, this little self-made one, and they're like, do I need to do this though? You know, for me, for my life, for what I want to do, for how I want to feel about myself, is this the road that I need to go down? And the road I was going down myself, you know, with all the hiding and all the sort of behaviors that I picked up, all these little like quirks and tics of, like, again, like staring at the ground, avoiding eye contact. And that was the big one for me. I was walking down the street and I avoided eye contact with this woman, like really like, you know, looking at my phone. And I saw what I'd become as a result of all this insecurity, as a result of all this trying to hide, as a result of this, like, I don't know what, this sort of just trying to not feel this anxiety and all the things I was doing to try and conceal, and this cage I was now in. I was able to see for the first time what I had become. A shell of the man that I thought I was, but most definitely a shell of the man that I wanted to be and knew I could be. Deep down, knew that I could be. And I got home and I was like, I can't keep going on like this. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of the world, you know, aka the hair loss industry, telling me that I need to feel this way, to keep hiding, keep concealing. I knew somewhere in my gut that I didn't want to keep doing this. I think that was it. I didn't know necessarily that I could kind of go with it, but I knew I didn't want to. And that's kind of like step 3, if you want to call it that. So the next step, and this is how you can totally move past balding, after you've hit that moment and you've started to have those feelings of like, maybe I don't need to keep living my life like this, or I don't want to, you build momentum. It's the best way I can describe it. The next phase, and this is in the course, is building momentum. What this really is reclaiming energy from all of this hair loss preoccupation, okay? So, you know, all the hiding in that, you're putting more energy into it. You're investing more into these insecurities. You're actually helping promote these anxieties by doing all of that hiding. And you start to sort of flip that script, and you take attention, you take energy, both mental and physical, back. Social events that you've been neglecting, your physical health, your mental health, just things that you used to enjoy or have wanted to do, that the hair loss, the safety behaviors, the insecurity around it have been taking from, you know, have slowly sort of degraded. You slowly reclaim those. And there's all sorts of ways that you can do this, but this is the next step. And again, inside the course, it shows you a multitude of ways, from fitness, you know, right up to taking up new hobbies and things. It walks you through all of those, whichever one you want to kind of do. But that is the next step in this. You build momentum. And by building that momentum, you build the courage for one of the final steps, which is abandoning the safety behaviors and challenging those insecurities. Okay, and this is the final phase, let's say. This is the bit. This is the kind of the real kicker here. I pinpoint 3 ways that guys do this. All of them link back to abandoning these safety behaviors and really challenging those fears and challenging those anxieties. Let's use my own example here. I knew that the place where I felt most insecure was when I was around all of my other students in my university classroom, for many reasons. They were around my age, most of them. We were all sat down, so I felt particularly vulnerable there. You know, this is the time where I felt most vulnerable, that my anxious kind of thought of people noticing was going to happen. So as you know, the deployment of playing around with the hair, sitting at the back, I know I've kind of talked about it a lot, being late to the class, not engaging in the class. These were all things I did, these safety behaviors, to reduce that anxiety, but these were the things that were ultimately negatively impacting my life. It wasn't the physical hair, dude. It was this cage I'd built around myself, and I needed to break out of that cage. And the only way to do it was to abandon these safety behaviors and reclaim my life, okay? Lose the hair, not your life. I needed to reclaim my life back from all of this insecurity and from these behaviors. And so the way I did it was, I knew that I'm faffing around here constantly. I'm so paranoid about the crown of my hair and the long hair I'm kind of using to, you know, do all this to kind of maximize that density. That was what I was trying to do. It's just the way I thought. I need to lose that ability. I need to abandon that safety behavior. And so I went and got what I call the gradual approach, right? That short haircut. It was like 0 on the sides and like a 2 on top. No longer could I faff around with the hair. I didn't like go for the head shave initially myself, but no longer could I faff around with that hair and hide it from people, essentially. Well, even if I was at the back of the classroom, people could still see, you know, in my head. At least this was the comfortable step that I took. This was a step that I knew I could do, and that could help me abandon these safety behaviors. That was my first action step that I personally took. And I did it. And for the first time in that year-long journey, I was able to question the validity of that fear that somebody noticing that I was losing my hair was going to be so traumatic and so detrimental to my life and impact me so negatively. It was the first time in a whole ass year that I'd ever challenged that fear. And what happened was I felt an initial buzz that I'd taken this challenge on. You know, I felt an initial sort of uptick in well-being and confidence because I'd done something scary. That's how we build confidence. I'd done something outside of my comfort zone, which at the time was minuscule. I was in that cage that you perhaps are also in. And I'd done something to push against that narrative. I'd done something that pushed against that that message that I was sending to myself of I'm so worthless if people notice I'm balding. And it felt good, dude. It felt so much better than this tiny little insecure person and cage that I was in. I'd broken out, or I'd at least sort of opened the lock, you know, I wasn't out fully. But that was the first step, and this is ultimately the last point. So you can do it like that, or other examples, the head shave, okay? What the head shave does ultimately is it removes the cage in one big swoop, okay? You get rid of all of those safety behaviors in one massive go. And for some people that's too much. That's too much of a step. But for others, they feel so like, I'm so done with this. Let's just get it done. That is the right step for them. And again, this is why in the course there's 3 different kind of levels that you can take. So you can take the best step that is going to work for you. It can be a combination, it can be one of those, but this is how you accept it. You have to abandon the safety behaviors and get into your life and see for the first time, I don't need to live in this hair loss cage that I've built around myself. You challenge them, you start collecting those wins in life, which the win may just be, I've got through a whole lesson of university here and I've not had to hide or feel like I needed to hide or conceal my balding. And then you start to paint this picture. This is where the freedom happens, guys. This is when the freedom from hair loss really begins to happen, because you get past that first thing and then you go and see your buddies, and sure, they rib on you a bit, but everyone's chill with it. And you haven't needed to conceal yourself or your hair or the balding in any way. It may be the fact of you looking at yourself and thinking and not seeing that hideous sight that you were so afraid of, because at the time you didn't know any better, right? You just thought and you assumed that that's how you were going to look. You didn't know any better, which is fine. I didn't know any better myself. I just had this image of this horrible troll looking like old man that I was going to be in my mid-20s. And when I actually allowed myself to see it, to go bald and see it, that wasn't the reality. That wasn't what happened. But I could never have known that while I was in my little cage using those behaviors. And so all of these things start to unfold in your life. You recognize that actually you're in the driving seat. You break out of that cage. And as life goes on and you have more of these experiences and you do all of the things that you want to do as a man on your mission in life, without the use of all this hiding and concealing, you're just authentically you, you're free, dude. You are finally free from it all. The insecurity, the anxiety, the behaviors, safety behaviors no longer dictate to you how you should live your life, how you interact with people, the places you go, the person you want to be, the career you want, right down to the minute little things you do, of the first thing that your morning routine. Hair loss doesn't dictate that anymore. Your insecurity over balding doesn't dictate that anymore. And that is when you are free from it. When you no longer have those emotional handcuffs. That is true freedom. And that is what I want for you. And that is how it's achieved. All of these men here that you see, that is the path that they took. That is the path that I took. And that is what it takes. That is how any man can truly be free from hair loss. That's how they accept it. That's how this works. And I hope that's given you a sense of hope, a sense of direction. I hope that's given you maybe a little bit of a blueprint to know that you too can break out of that cage and you can go on and live your life like all of these other guys have done. I will never tire of seeing guys triumph over it and break free and go on to live amazing lives, to never ever worry about this whole hair loss stuff again. Never be plagued by it, never be burdened by it. The same is ultimately incredibly possible for you. It really is. And for any man. And if you want help with it, if you want me to walk you through each step, if you want to speak to me directly, if you want to speak to guys who are also either on the other side of it or going through the same journey that you're on now, then join that community. The whole point of it is get in, get your help, take action, and move on with your life. Move on with it. Break free, move on, live a great life. That's what I want for you. That was good. I hope that helped you. I really do.